What's up, Gator fans? We've got a different video for you today because there is a lot to cover and we are running out of days to get this information and, of course, my thoughts on it to you. So we're going to talk about some tough questions that really need answers for the Florida Gators. Now, most of the videos we do are only one topic. Today, we're combining three because they're all super important and we're not going to make you wait. So let us know in the comments if you think this style is good, if you like it, or if you think we should just stick to one topic per video. First up, there's a question that the Gators need to answer this weekend about injuries. Okay. The Gators released the injury report yesterday, and unfortunately, there are some more names on it than there has been in the previous games. Notable names that are out for sure include wide receiver Caleb Douglas and tight end Jonathan Odom. Now, Douglas has been a starter for the Gators, but he is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks as he recovers from that lower leg injury. So we will not be seeing him anytime soon. There are several names on the questionable list. Trevor Etienne, Austin Barber, Dante Zanders, Kingsley Eguakin, and Miguel Mitchell are all listed as questionable. But got a little bit of an inside look at what's going on that list, and I am hearing that Etienne, Barber, and Eguakin are really unlikely to play at all. Now, that's a big problem for the Gators. It also is a really great opportunity for some of the guys that sit behind him. Trevor Etienne being banged up is also super interesting to me because I think that it could explain why Johnson has been getting more carries than him, even though Etienne has been the more explosive and productive back this season. And I actually think if that's the case, then that makes me not question Napier as much as I have been about the running backs. I've, been just like you guys sitting there saying, listen, I love Montrell Johnson. He's really good, but Trevor Etienne is special. He is an elite talent. Why is he not getting at least as many, if not more carries than Johnson? And we've had a couple of weeks in a row here where Johnson has really carried the water and it hasn't been particularly successful. So maybe this is why. And if that's the case, then Napier's just doing what he can with what he has. Now, missing Barber and Eguakin is definitely a blow to an already struggling offensive line. They were bad against Kentucky. And I'm wondering if they weren't 100%, and maybe that's a piece to this puzzle as well. Napier said that multiple offensive linemen had really great weeks of practice this week. And listen, that's great news because we need them to play well on Saturday if the Gators are going to beat Vanderbilt. Now, in a little bit of good news, Florida does get wide receiver Marcus Burke and tight end Tony Livingston back this week. Eugene Wilson was also missing from the injury report for the second week in a row, but I'm not going to get too excited yet. He dressed for Kentucky. They had him warm up. Napier essentially said that they just didn't feel comfortable sending him out there just yet. He had taken some contact in practice. They thought he might be ready, but just kind of at the end of the day decided not yet. They needed to wait a little bit more. He's still recovering from that collarbone injury. So, just because he's not on that injury report doesn't mean we will for sure see him. Although I will tell you, with Douglas being out, it would be really advantageous to this offense if Wilson could be back in. And I think if we think back to the Tennessee game, Florida's been most productive on offense when Trey Wilson has been in the ball game. So hopefully we will see him on Saturday, but I'm not holding my breath. All right, another topic that a lot of you have commented about, and we've seen this a lot on social media too, is kind of the mystery surrounding Kamari Wilson. I have heard that the team spoke to him about moving to linebacker. It is not something that he is a fan of. I know that he has at least mentioned to UF wanting to hit the portal this offseason. And I've heard that not only from sources within our own program, but sources within other programs as well. So I do think that that is likely to happen unless Napier and company can convince him to stay or even want to convince him to stay. He's obviously not around right now. Napier doesn't want him around the program at the moment. And I can completely understand why. It makes zero sense to have a guy who says, hey, I don't want to be here. As soon as the portal opens back up, I'm out. but then let him spend time around your team. That's just, it's not a good look. You don't want one bad apple poisoning the bunch, so to speak. And I'm not saying Kamari Wilson is a bad apple by any means, but if somebody's already decided this isn't the place for them, I don't know that it makes sense to let them hang out with the team. So I'm completely with Napier on that one. Now, this hurts though. He was the highest rated recruit that Napier has brought in so far. And thinking back to Dan Mullen, he got a lot of flack for guys never actually making it to campus or never making an impact once they did. I think this situation is totally different, but it is unfortunate that we are not likely to see what kind of impact he could make at UF. But Napier is in a hard position here. If you have a player that you think fits your system better at a different position, if they don't want to make the move, they don't think the move is right for them, and they want out, there's not a whole lot Coach Napier can do, in that situation. So this is one we're going to continue to monitor, but I find it hard to believe we will see Kamari Wilson in orange and blue unless something major changes from here on out. Last thing I want to cover is the head ball coach. Steve Spurrier made some comments about Florida's offense in the last couple of days. But before I get to that, I want to give some love to Meldon Law. I've been telling you guys about them for weeks, and we are so proud to work with them and to get the support from them like we do. They are the official injury firm of the Florida Gators, and they should be your official injury firm as well. Make sure you go to their Facebook and enter to win tickets to their Florida-Georgia giveaway. Also, for home games, when they're out there, stop by and visit their tent. I did the last time I was in town. It was a great time. They've got a prize wheel. They're giving things away. There was a long line of people coming to see what Meldon Law had to offer. It's right in front of the O-Dome, so there's just a great atmosphere. There was music pumping, people milling all around. Definitely go visit their tent. And listen, God forbid if you're hurt or you're injured in some sort of accident, let Meldon Law take care of you. All right, let's talk about the old ball coach. He was asked if Napier could become more aggressive with his offense and ultimately throw the ball more. And Spurrier mentioned mixing it up, but did agree. He said, I don't think we need to toss. Spurrier mentioned mixing it up, and he did agree, saying, I do think we need to toss more deeper balls. You look all around the country, and teams are scoring a bunch of points, like Southern Cal the other day in Colorado. I mean, they create plays where they throw it down the field. They got guys flying all over the place. He went on to say, I do think we need to air it out a little bit more. And then if you're successful doing that, ETN will have more rushing yards also, I think. Now, Spurrier did show support for Napier at the end of his comments and said he didn't expect him to change anything too soon and that he thought he was going to do a good job. But he did mention both Drinkwitz and Jimbo Fisher, who ultimately gave up play calling. So let's dive into this a little bit. Steve Spurrier is never going to be one to mince words. That is just not who he is. He calls it exactly as he sees it. And I think when he does say things out loud like this publicly, it puts pressure on Napier to make a change, right? This is a Gator legend saying this publicly. Pressure does come from that. I also think it's going to cause internal pressure as well. Steve Spurrier is probably the most highly regarded Gator that exists. And he is an offensive genius. He's regarded as that, not just at UF, but well beyond. So if this offensive guru is sitting here saying, you need to do this, and this differently, I do think that creates pressure for Napier to at least try those things. And listen, I'm not going to spend a ton of time harping on this. I know that you guys know all my thoughts, but we do continue to hear that it is likely Napier will do something after the season. I know that means that fans are probably going to be frustrated for the rest of the year if things aren't perfect or we aren't amazing on offense. We don't put up 35 points every single game. And we're likely going to have to talk about this again. But just know, as you're frustrated at home because you want a few more points put on the board, it is likely to trend towards a change in the offseason. That is the good news. Now what we're going to see is, can Napier make tweaks, right? He's not making a wholesale change midseason. He has all but told us that in his press conference and multiple times to the media. So, what kind of tweaks will he make for us to maybe be a little bit more successful for the rest of the year before a wholesale change happens in the offseason? That is what remains to be seen. And that is something that I am so interested to see as we move forward. And, as we talked about in our very first topic of this video, there's a lot of injuries on the offensive side of the ball for Vanderbilt. What kind of tweaks is Napier going to make so that Florida can still be successful when they are down 2 starting offensive linemen and a starting wide receiver? That is going to answer a lot of questions, and it's going to kind of determine the outcome of this game, I think. Guys, listen, we have a show tonight at 8 p.m. Join us live. We love interacting with you guys during a live show, so make sure you keep it up. I love hearing your comments. I love answering your questions. If you're not subscribed, that is a great way to show that you support the show. As always, I appreciate all of you guys' support, and go Gators.